In the vast chamber of the Galactic Council, whispers and amused laughter filled the air. On a massive holographic display at the chamber's center floated the image of Earth's most advanced starship, the EFS Resolute. To the assembled alien representatives, it looked like a child's toy. Ambassador Daniel Connors stood firm, his tailored suit feeling suddenly too tight around his shoulders. Despite the scoffs echoing through the room, he kept his gaze level as he faced the towering alien counselors who sat on high platforms above him. The entire chamber was designed to dwarf visitors, with its ceiling soaring 100 meters overhead and walls adorned with intimidating displays of alien technology. "You expect us to take these miniatures seriously?" boomed Council Leader Talek, his giant purple form looming forward, his multiple eyes blinking in an expression that suggested both pity and amusement. "This starship, you show us, is barely larger than a cargo hauler." Connors kept his voice steady. "Size isn't everything, Council Leader Talek. Earth's ships may be compact, but they carry." "Carry what?" sneered Representative Zorak, a tall, insect-like alien with gleaming mandibles. "Your kind has barely begun to navigate the stars. Your ships are primitive, insignificant, and pose no threat." Captain Prescott of the Resolute stood silently beside Connors, his fists clenched. He had expected resistance, but the open mockery grated on him. Connors pressed on with measured calm, speaking over the quiet hum of the chamber's air filtration systems. "We seek cooperation, not conflict. Earth has unique innovations to offer," Connors said diplomatically. Several council members erupted in laughter. "Look at their weapon mounts," chittered one counselor. "Tiny spikes, like those on a harmless pest." Connors ignored the heat rising in his face. He had trained for years in diplomacy and wasn't about to lose his composure now. Glancing briefly at the hologram of the Resolute, he thought about the hidden strength of the tiny 300-meter vessel, a ship ingeniously engineered to outmaneuver and outwit, rather than simply overpower. Talek raised a hand for silence. "Ambassador Connors, we've reviewed Earth's petition. While we welcome Earth as a protectorate, full council membership requires standards your fleet does not meet. Your fleet is, to put it bluntly, inadequate." The way he said protectorate made Connors' skin crawl. In his earpiece, he heard Captain Prescott's voice, barely a whisper. "Sir, they're analyzing us, almost like they're probing for weaknesses." Connors gave a slight nod, fully aware. Behind the dismissive laughter was something far more sinister. The counselors were studying Earth's technology, not just with contempt, but with intent. "Thank you for the Council's consideration," Connors said carefully. "Earth will review the requirements, but let me remind you, Earth is a sovereign world, not a protectorate." Talek gave a tight smile. "Naturally, Ambassador. Return to your vessel, and we shall send our formal response through proper channels." As Connors and Prescott left, the laughter resumed, openly mocking this time. Back aboard the Resolute, Connors loosened his collar, gazing out the viewport at the Council's fleet, each ship larger and more imposing than anything Earth had produced. "Captain, send a priority message to Earth Defense Command," he instructed. "Tell them to begin Protocol Omega." Prescott's eyes widened. "You believe they're planning?" Connors interrupted grimly. "They're evaluating us as prey, and that makes them dangerous." His expression hardened. "They underestimate us now, but they'll learn the deadliest threats aren't always the largest." 3 months after the Council meeting, Earth's orbital shipyards teemed with activity. Prescott stood in the observation deck of Luna Base, watching as workers swarmed over dozens of ships. The Earth Defense Fleet was preparing, quietly but thoroughly. "Status report," he called out to Lieutenant Mark Evans, who was monitoring the new systems. "Upgrades are underway across the fleet, sir. The Council still believes we're doing routine maintenance." Prescott's gaze settled on the main display, showing the EFS Resolute, now fitted with stealth technology and hidden missile arrays. "And our spies?" Recorded evidence confirms the Council's planned pacification of Earth operation. They've scheduled their arrival 3 weeks from now. Prescott's jaw clenched. "To protect us, meaning subjugate us," he muttered darkly. As he watched the modifications unfold, Admiral Jax arrived beside him. The Council sees cargo ships. They've no idea what we're preparing. They'll be in for a shock, sir, Prescott replied, a hint of anticipation in his voice. They will indeed, Jax agreed, leading him to the tactics room where a simulation displayed human ships outmaneuvering a colossal Council vessel. The Wolf Pack Protocol. 5 of our ships attack as a team, overwhelming their sensors and finding blind spots. Prescott watched, impressed. They've never needed effective point defense against small, fast ships. Their strategy has always assumed that bigger means better. Exactly, Jax said with satisfaction. Our ships, with upgraded fusion drives, can outmaneuver and overwhelm them. A beeping alert interrupted them. Sir, a Council scout ship approaching lunar orbit, Evans reported. Jax kept his voice level. Everyone remain at your stations. Let them see exactly what they expect to see. A tiny, primitive fleet undergoing minor repairs. As the Council scout passed overhead, Connors' last conversation with Talek played back in Prescott's mind. The Council still dismissed Earth as harmless, and that was precisely what humanity needed them to believe. When the Council's invasion fleet finally entered Earth's system, Captain Prescott was fully prepared. The alert sirens jolted him awake at 0300 Earth Standard Time. Within minutes, he was on the bridge, where the tactical display confirmed the arrival of 3 dreadnoughts, 15 cruisers, and a swarm of smaller support vessels, all with weapons capable of planetary destruction. All hands to battle stations, Prescott ordered. Initiate Operation Paper Tiger. Across Earth's orbit, 30 human ships powered up, each one appearing disorganized and panicked to the Council's sensors. Communications Officer Sarah Lynn reported. Council ships are broadcasting orders to surrender. They've deemed us defenseless. Prescott allowed himself a tight smile. Send the prepared response. Make it sound fearful. A trembling voice transmitted back to the Council fleet, begging for time to negotiate. On his display, Prescott watched the Council ships adjust their formation, just as predicted, spreading thin to encircle Earth. They've taken the bait, came Admiral Jax's voice over the secure channel. All ships, initiate Phase 1. Human vessels scattered, feigning a desperate attempt to escape. The Resolute and 4 other ships stayed behind, bracing for an ill-fated defense. Prescott watched one of the Council dreadnoughts, the Starbreaker, looming in the distance, its thick armor and powerful weaponry clearly visible. Primitive humans, a Council commander's voice crackled through the speakers. Prepare to be pacified. Prescott's eyes steeled. Now he commanded. From each scattered human ship, a hail of compact, high-speed missiles streaked toward the Council fleet, aimed at their undefended flanks. The Council's targeting systems, designed to track large threats, struggled to adapt. Prescott's tactical officer reported multiple impacts on the Starbreaker. Their shields are failing. The Council fleet's massive vessels moved sluggishly to respond, but more missiles streaked in from different angles, guided with surgical precision. Council dreadnoughts' armor, designed for head-on assaults, buckled under this relentless attack. They're attempting to regroup, Admiral Jax noted, but we're not giving them the chance. Wolfpack teams, engage! Prescott watched as the smaller human ships coordinated flawlessly, darting between the Council vessels like a swarm of hornets around a bear. The alien fleet, accustomed to direct, size-based warfare, was overwhelmed by the nimble, evasive strikes. The Starbreaker shuddered under repeated missile strikes, its defenses faltering. Another Council dreadnought down, sir? Lieutenant Evans called, triumph evident in his voice. Prescott and Jax exchanged a look. They think humanity is fragile and small, Jax said. They forget we evolved on a world that constantly tested our survival. They've underestimated us for the last time. As another Council ship went dark on the tactical screen, Prescott nodded. This is their mistake to make, he said quietly, and our chance to show the galaxy that humanity doesn't need to be the biggest force to be the deadliest. Captain Ian Prescott stood on the bridge of the EFS Resolute, watching the remnants of the Council fleet as they struggled to recover from the relentless human assault. The once imposing alien dreadnoughts, each massive vessel a mile long, with armor thick enough to shrug off standard attacks. We're now staggering from precise missile strikes, unable to counter the blinding speed and precision of Earth's compact fleet. Prescott could see it. The Council forces had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. "Captain," called Lieutenant Mark Evans from the tactical console, his voice taut with controlled excitement. "We've just confirmed that 2 of their cruisers are dead in the water. Their propulsion systems are crippled, and we're reading heavy damage across their fleet." Prescott nodded, his mind racing. "Good. They wanted to cage us in, to keep us passive and submissive. Let's show them the cost of trying to do that to humanity." Around him, the bridge was alive with energy as his crew carried out his orders, each one performing with the precision and resilience that had defined Earth's defense forces since their inception. Prescott could feel the pride radiating from each officer, every technician. This wasn't just a battle. It was humanity's chance to prove they could stand among the stars. Admiral Jax's voice crackled through the secure channel, cutting through the tense silence on the bridge. "Prescott, the Council fleet has been split. They're retreating to regroup around their remaining dreadnought. They didn't expect this level of resistance." "Then let's make sure they remember it," Prescott replied, his voice unwavering. "Prepare for Phase 2. Phase 2 had been designed for exactly this scenario. Earth's tactical minds, led by Commander Torres, had studied every Council ship's schematics for weaknesses. They'd pinpointed vulnerabilities in the armor, small blind spots in the Council's sensor arrays, and sluggish response times in their targeting systems. All Wolfpack teams assume intercept formation. Let them feel what it's like to be on the defensive. On the tactical display, the Earth's ships, the tiny fleet the Council had once mocked, formed a coordinated phalanx around the Council's dreadnoughts and remaining cruisers. From afar, the formation looked deceptively disorganized, but Prescott knew better. Each vessel was positioned with surgical precision, creating overlapping fields of fire that left no approach unguarded. "Wasp missiles ready and primed," Lieutenant Evans reported, his fingers dancing over the control panel. "On your command, Captain. Target their propulsion systems," Prescott ordered. "We're not here to annihilate them outright. We're here to cripple them, to show them that Earth is not a backwater to be conquered." He turned to the comms officer, Sarah Lynn. "Send a message to Admiral Jax. We're taking prisoners if we can." Evans looked up in surprise, but Prescott's expression remained firm. "If we're going to survive in this galaxy, we need to do more than fight. We need to learn." In unison, the Resolute and the rest of the fleet unleashed a volley of Wasp missiles. The missiles spiraled through the void, their compact size and erratic flight paths designed to evade point defense systems. Council ships shuddered as the explosives found their mark, piercing armor plates and wreaking havoc on propulsion arrays. Through the viewport, Prescott watched as the Council's massive dreadnought, the Starbreaker, reeled from the assault, its engines dimming as fires raged across its lower hull. "Sir, the Starbreaker's main engine has gone dark. She's drifting," Evans reported, excitement threading through his normally stoic voice. Admiral Jax's voice boomed over the comms. "Outstanding work, Prescott. Now let's see if these counselors have the nerve to negotiate on human terms." Prescott turned to Sarah Lynn. "Open a channel to the Starbreaker. Broadcast this on all frequencies." A moment later, the bridge filled with static, and then the image of a Council commander flickered onto the screen. His massive, multifaceted eyes shone with a fury Prescott had only seen once before, during a confrontation with a Council officer who had assumed the humans were incapable of sentient thought. "Earth Fleet," the Council commander spat, his voice dripping with disdain. "You dare to attack a member of the Galactic Council? This insolence will not be forgotten." Prescott met the commander's glare with a calm, even gaze. "You invaded our system, Commander. You came here expecting submission. Now you're dealing with a sovereign species that refuses to bow." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We offer you a chance to withdraw. We don't need your protectorate status. We're ready to meet you as equals or as enemies. The choice is yours." The Council commander bared his mandibles, his alien features twisting with rage. "This insult will cost your species dearly. The Council will respond, and when they do, your pitiful ships will be The transmission cut off abruptly. Prescott looked over to Lynn, who shook her head. They severed the connection. Captain? Very well, he replied unruffled. We'll continue with Phase 3. Reposition all ships into blockade formation. They're not getting another chance to take the offensive. As Earth ships moved into a tight blockade around the Council fleet, Prescott turned his attention to the tactical display, where green icons represented the human vessels and red icons indicated the beleaguered Council forces. The Resolute shifted smoothly into place, positioning itself to provide cover fire for smaller support ships. The Council's arrogance had blinded them to Earth's ingenuity, and now they were learning how quickly a cornered species could strike back. After a moment's silence, Evans spoke up again. Sir, we're picking up a distress signal from one of the Council's smaller ships. They've sustained major damage, requesting emergency aid. Prescott exchanged a look with Admiral Jax, who had heard the message through the open channel. Jax's expression was inscrutable, but after a pause, he nodded slowly. Prescott, send a medic team and a repair drone. We won't let our humanity falter now, no matter how badly they misjudged us. Yes, sir. Prescott nodded, dispatching a team from the Resolute. As the medical shuttle departed, Prescott felt a surge of pride. Humanity's strength was not just in its ability to fight, but in its ability to show mercy, even to those who saw them as weak. The medical team reached the crippled Council ship, and the main screen flickered to show the shuttle's interior. Prescott could see his officers tending to injured Council soldiers, administering aid with unflinching professionalism. The aliens looked on with expressions of shock and disbelief. The Council commander's voice returned, weaker this time. Why would you help us? Prescott leaned forward. Because Earth fights for more than just survival. We fight to prove our worth. Not only as warriors, but as allies, as a people who understand both resilience and compassion. The alien commander regarded him in stunned silence. Finally, with a slow, reluctant nod, he spoke. Perhaps we have more to learn about your kind than we realized. Prescott allowed a small, measured smile. We've only just begun. 3 weeks later, Earth's diplomats met with the Council's ambassadors in neutral space. This time, the tone was different. No mocking laughter, no condescending comments. The counselors regarded humanity's representatives with newfound respect, their expressions wary but attentive. Ambassador Daniel Connor stood proudly before the Council's assembly, his words firm and clear. Earth requests membership as an equal partner, not as a protectorate. We are ready to stand alongside the Council, not beneath it. We bring our strengths and our innovations, but we will not tolerate subjugation. Council leader Talek, the once mocking figure who had dismissed humanity as a mere pest, inclined his head, multiple eyes focused on Connor's. Earth has shown great strength and restraint, he admitted. We acknowledge the error of our initial assessment. The Council will review Earth's petition with new consideration. Connors held his gaze, knowing that humanity's future now hung in the balance, not only as a species among stars, but as a force to be reckoned with. As he left the assembly chamber, Connors felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Prescott, looking weary but triumphant. We did it, Prescott murmured. They'll never underestimate Earth again. Connors nodded, his eyes shining with a fierce hope. The galaxy just got a new contender. And this time, they know exactly who we are. And as humanity's flag began to rise among the stars, Earth's defenders prepared for whatever the future would bring. They would face it, not as conquerors, but as survivors, strong, unyielding, and finally ready to take their place in the galaxy. The air inside Earth Defense Command's central strategy room was tense, the light dim except for the glow of holographic displays casting blue and green hues over the faces of those gathered. Earth had made its first real mark on the galactic stage, but everyone knew that the Council's concession was only a temporary peace. Somewhere in the galaxy, powerful figures were certainly plotting their next move. Admiral Jax stood at the center of the room, his sharp gaze fixed on the floating tactical map that displayed Earth's region of space. His voice, low but forceful, cut through the murmurs of the room. Our scouts have identified strange energy signatures coming from beyond Council space, he said, his eyes narrowed as he addressed the assembly of Earth's top officers. The signals are intermittent, almost like a coded transmission, but we haven't been able to decipher them yet. Captain Prescott, standing nearby, raised an eyebrow. Could it be some sort of Council technology we haven't encountered? Something they're using to prepare for a counterattack? Jax shook his head. That's the first thing we thought, but this seems different. We've reviewed Council technology logs, and nothing in their arsenal matches the signature. These signals seem older, more erratic. Prescott's expression turned thoughtful. Could it be from a faction we haven't encountered yet? The galaxy is vast, and there are entire regions the Council hasn't fully mapped. Admiral Jax nodded slowly. That's the working theory, and that's why we're taking this seriously. If another major power exists beyond the Council, we need to know if they're friend or foe. This might be an opportunity or a threat. Ambassador Daniel Connors, the diplomat who had secured Earth's tentative acceptance among the Council, leaned forward. If the Council knows something about this, they won't be sharing information easily. They still see us as a potential threat, even if they won't say it directly. The officers exchanged grim glances, each understanding the stakes. Earth had faced resistance just to gain respect from the Council. If another power was lurking, Earth would be caught in a fragile position between two forces with only a sliver of trust established with the Council. Jax studied the faces around him. We'll need to send a small, fast task force to investigate these signals. Something agile, covert, and fully prepared for any scenario. Prescott straightened. If that's the order, I volunteer the Resolute and a squadron of Wolfpack ships. We've been honing our stealth maneuvers, and we've got one of the best reconnaissance teams in the fleet. Jax considered this, nodding. The Resolute is well suited for this mission, and your team has proven itself. But make no mistake, Prescott, this isn't just an exploration. You're going to be stepping into unknown territory, where we have no support and no fallback. Prescott's face was set in determination. Understood, sir. We won't let Earth down. Jax turned to the rest of the team. Prep all systems for deep space exploration. Fuel, provisions, and communication relays. We'll need the Resolute to maintain contact with us as long as possible. Connors, prepare a diplomatic package. If they make first contact, Prescott will need something to work with. With the room alive with orders and preparations, Prescott moved quickly to assemble his crew. As he walked through the shipyard, he could feel the energy pulsing around him. The mechanics working overtime, engineers overseeing systems checks, officers briefing their teams. Earth was braced for whatever lay in the abyss, and so was he. The Resolute departed 3 days later, a sleek spear of human ingenuity slipping into the vast unknown. They were accompanied by a squadron of 6 Wolfpack ships, each one outfitted with advanced stealth systems and the new Wasp missile systems that had proven invaluable against the Council fleet. Prescott stood on the bridge, watching as stars stretched into streaks of light around them. The hum of the engines the only sound in the otherwise quiet cabin. Lieutenant Evans, his ever-reliable tactical officer, approached with a report. Captain, we've just crossed into unexplored space. We're officially outside any known Council or Earth-controlled territory. Good, Prescott replied, nodding at Evans. Let's keep all sensors on high alert. I don't want to be surprised out here. For hours, the Resolute and its fleet moved through dark, empty space, scanning for any signs of the strange energy signals that had drawn them here. At first, they found nothing, only the silent vastness of the galaxy stretching before them. But then, the signal reappeared. Captain, Evans said, his voice tight with tension, we're picking up that energy signature again. Stronger this time. Patch it through, Prescott ordered. The sound that filled the bridge was eerie. A low, pulsating hum, interspersed with irregular bursts of static. The pattern was complex, almost rhythmic like a coded message. Prescott frowned, listening closely. Can we trace it? He asked. Evans nodded. I'm triangulating the source now, sir. It's coming from a star system not far from our position. There's an unidentified structure orbiting a red giant, possibly an abandoned station or shipyard. Bring us in, Lieutenant. Slowly, and carefully. The Resolute adjusted course, sliding smoothly toward the source of the signal. As they drew closer, Prescott could see the outline of a massive structure emerging from the darkness. It was ancient, battered by what looked like centuries of space debris, but it still emitted a faint blue glow. "Magnify," Prescott ordered, leaning closer to the screen as Evans complied. The image zoomed in, revealing a labyrinthine structure built from strange alloys and unfamiliar design principles. It was like nothing they'd seen before, each segment of the station connected by narrow passageways, jutting out in angular formations. Faded symbols lined the structure, and the surface was peppered with unusual patterns, like burn marks left by powerful energy blasts. Scans show no life forms on board, Evans reported. "But, Captain, there's a heat signature near the core. It's faint, but it's there." "A power source?" Prescott asked, his curiosity piqued. "It's possible. Whatever this is, it's not entirely dead." Prescott turned to his team. "All right, I'm not risking the Resolute itself inside there. Lieutenant, take a team in one of the recon shuttles and investigate the structure. Find out what you can, but keep your guard up. We don't know what we're dealing with here." Evans nodded, his face set with determination. "Understood, Captain. I'll keep you updated." Minutes later, the recon shuttle detached from the Resolute, gliding slowly toward the derelict station. Prescott watched from the bridge, his eyes narrowing as he observed the shuttle's progress on the main display. "Lieutenant, what are you seeing?" he asked over the comm. Evans's voice crackled back, filled with a mix of awe and apprehension. "Sir, this place, it's like a graveyard. The walls are covered in symbols I can't decipher. I'm sending visuals back to you now." On the bridge screen, Prescott could see the images in real time. The walls were marked with glyphs, sharp, angular symbols that seemed etched with deliberate precision. As Evans moved deeper, a vast chamber appeared on screen, filled with towering machines, many of which were dark and silent. But one machine still flickered, emitting a faint glow. "It's incredible," Evans whispered, his voice hushed. "This place, it feels ancient, like it's been waiting for something." "Waiting for what?" Prescott murmured to himself, feeling an unsettling sense of foreboding. Then, as Evans approached the glowing machine, a new signal pulsed through the bridge, a high-pitched whine that made Prescott's skin crawl. On the screen, a section of the wall shifted, revealing what looked like a control panel. Symbols flickered across it, forming patterns that repeated, each sequence a little faster than the last. "Evans, get out of there. Now!" Prescott ordered, his voice sharp with urgency. But before Evans could respond, a sudden tremor shook the Resolute, followed by a blinding flash on the display. Prescott shielded his eyes. The bridge plunged into chaos as alarms blared. "Report," he shouted. "Captain, the station, it's activated something. We're detecting a massive energy buildup," his science officer called out, her voice panicked. "It's pulling us in with a gravitational field. Engines at full reverse." Prescott ordered, "Get us out of here." The Resolute's engines roared to life, but the pull of the station was relentless, dragging them closer by the second. Through the viewport, Prescott could see a blue light enveloping the station, forming a pulsating, swirling vortex. And then, the screen showed a face, alien, ancient, with eyes that seemed to pierce right into him. A voice echoed through the bridge, speaking in a language they couldn't understand, but whose meaning was clear, as if it resonated directly in their minds. "Outsiders, you have trespassed on the domain. Prepare to be evaluated." The vortex opened wide, a yawning chasm that seemed to stretch into infinity, drawing them in like a hungry maw. In a flash, the Resolute and its fleet vanished, pulled into the heart of the unknown, leaving only silence in the void. The swirling void that had engulfed the Resolute and its fleet was silent and oppressive, a cold emptiness that stretched endlessly in all directions. Prescott blinked, trying to regain his bearings as the bridge lights flickered back to life. His crew, shaken but alive, was scrambling to make sense of their surroundings. "Status report?" Prescott called, his voice cutting through the uneasy quiet. "Lieutenant Evans, who had made it back to the Resolute moments before the vortex had swallowed them, was at his station. "Captain, sensors are... I'm not sure. There's no recognizable point of reference. It's like we're outside the galaxy." "Impossible," Prescott muttered, his eyes narrowing. "Are we still picking up the Council signal?" Evans checked, and after a tense moment, he shook his head. "No, sir. The signal's gone. Whatever brought us here, it's different from anything we've encountered. I'm detecting faint traces of dark matter readings. The density here is off the charts." Suddenly, the screen flashed to life, showing an enormous structure floating in the distance. It was a massive, ancient-looking fortress, with faint blue lights pulsing along its surface. Its size dwarfed anything the Council or Earth had constructed, its spires stretching upward like claws into the blackness. "Captain," Evans said, his voice tight with tension. "We're being scanned." A chill ran through Prescott as he watched the fortress light up, its sensors sweeping over the Resolute and its escort ships. A split second later, a deep, otherworldly voice filled the bridge. A voice that resonated not through speakers, but directly in their minds, ancient and powerful. "Insolent intruders," the voice intoned, each word dripping with contempt. "You have dared to violate the boundaries of the abyss." Prescott's jaw clenched, and he stood up, his gaze fierce as he spoke aloud. "We come in peace. We were investigating a signal. We mean no harm." The silence that followed felt like the calm before a storm. Then, a chorus of harsh laughter filled the bridge, echoing from every corner as if the fortress itself were mocking them. "Peace, such a naive concept. You entered our domain, mortals, and now you will face judgment." The fortress glowed brighter, and Prescott realized with horror that it was powering up a weapon. On his tactical screen, dozens of massive energy signatures emerged from the structure, each one pointed directly at the Resolute and its fleet. "Evans, evasive maneuvers. All ships, scatter," Prescott ordered, his voice carrying the intensity of life-or-death desperation. The fleet broke formation, the tiny wolf-pack ships darting away in all directions while the Resolute pulled a hard turn, engines blazing as it tried to evade the incoming fire. But the fortress was relentless. Beams of bright, searing energy tore through the darkness, each blast narrowly missing the human ships. Prescott's hands gripped the command panel as the Resolute spun through space, avoiding shot after shot. "Captain, 2 ships down," shouted Evans, a grim look in his eyes. "We're not going to last against this thing. Its weapons are too powerful." Prescott looked back at the fortress, his mind racing. Earth had faced near-impossible odds before, but this was beyond anything he'd ever seen. He had one last card to play, one last chance to save his crew. "We're going to hit them hard and fast," Prescott said, determination in his voice. "Our WASP missiles are small enough to slip through their defenses. We're going to launch a full spread, aiming for any critical points we can find. If we can't bring it down, we're at least going to make sure they remember us." The crew looked at him, each one understanding the stakes. They might not make it out of this alive, but they would make sure Earth's defenders wouldn't be forgotten. "Evans, target the fortress's power source," Prescott ordered. "Engineering, reroute all non-essential power to shields. Comm, signal the fleet. All ships, prepare for simultaneous missile launch on my mark." The remaining ships moved into formation, each one aligning for the final assault. Prescott took a deep breath, steeling himself for what would come next. The fortress's weapons continued to fire, but they were slower now, as if sensing the resolve in their tiny fleet. "Fire!" Prescott commanded, his voice steady and unyielding. A hail of WASP missiles launched from the Resolute and its fleet, streaking across the void like a swarm of angry stars. The missiles zeroed in on the fortress, darting past its defenses and striking the structure in a coordinated wave of explosions. The blue glow dimmed, flickering erratically as explosions erupted along the fortress's outer shell. For a brief, heart-stopping moment, it seemed like their assault had worked. The fortress's lights faded, its weapons falling silent. Prescott held his breath, hoping that their desperate strike had been enough. But then, the fortress flared back to life. Its energy surged, blue lights blazing brighter than ever, and a new wave of weapons began to charge. "Captain," Evans whispered, fear creeping into his voice. "It's still operational. And it's targeting us?" Prescott's heart sank. They had given everything, but it hadn't been enough. He glanced around the bridge at his crew, each of them standing ready, unwavering even in the face of certain death. "Thank you, all of you," Prescott said quietly, a trace of pride in his voice. "It's been an honor serving with you." The fortress's weapon systems lit up, the blinding energy building to a cataclysmic crescendo. The bridge was bathed in harsh, white light as the final blast prepared to fire. But then, without warning, a new signal cut through the void. "Unidentified fleet, disengage immediately." The voice was calm, authoritative, and Prescott realized it was broadcasting in perfect Earth standard. The fortress's weapon systems powered down abruptly, and the glow faded, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. On the screen, a fleet of sleek, dark ships emerged from the shadows, moving with precision and speed as they positioned themselves between the fortress and the human ships. Evans's eyes widened in shock. Who are they?" The lead ship's screen activated, and a figure appeared, a woman with intense, piercing eyes and dark hair tied back in a tight ponytail. Her uniform was unfamiliar, but she held herself with an air of command. "This is Captain Alara Nova of the Outer Rim Alliance," she said, her gaze locked onto Prescott's. "You're lucky we intercepted that distress signal. The entity you encountered is a remnant of an ancient race known as the Velar Dominion. They were thought long extinct, but it seems their guardians still protect the abyss." Prescott nodded, struggling to absorb the information. "Thank you, Captain. We owe you our lives. But who are you really? And why did you help us?" Captain Nova's expression softened slightly. "We are a coalition of worlds who remain hidden beyond Council territory, a collection of species who believe in mutual defense and shared knowledge. We keep watch over threats the Council denies exist. You're new to this galaxy, Captain Prescott, but you showed resilience against a force even the Council fears." Nova's ship broadcast a tight signal, and Prescott felt the Resolute systems hum to life as their shields were recharged and engines restored. Nova's gaze lingered on him. "There's a place for those who are willing to stand against the unknown," she continued. "Earth's fight has only begun. If you wish to learn more, follow us." Prescott exchanged a look with Evans, then turned back to the screen. "Thank you, Captain Nova. We're ready." As the mysterious fleet moved forward, the Resolute and its remaining escort ships followed, leaving the Velar fortress behind. They sped into the unknown, deeper into the galaxy, as the stars themselves seemed to brighten with the promise of allies and the knowledge of even greater enemies lurking in the depths. In that moment, Prescott felt a renewed sense of purpose. Earth was no longer alone. They were part of something larger, a fight for freedom and survival against forces beyond imagining. And together, they would face the abyss,